closer to finding out if crash retrievals have happened, if reverse engineering special access programs are real. Would you expect major pushback from the Pentagon? I mean, they clearly have kept this a secret a long time. Contractors, they have a lot of influence on Capitol Hill. Are they coming after people like you? Are they trying to thwart the committee from getting into the bottom of this?
I feel 100% they are. I feel that there's people in Congress that have been compromised. And I know I'm going to get called on the carpet for this and say who and how do you know this? But, why do good people vote for crappy stuff? And all of a sudden they just have a change of heart. I'll tell you how. They've been compromised. You're in some foreign country or at the bar, and then some attractive person comes up to you and giggling at your jokes and telling you how smart you are. Next thing you know, you're in bed with them in a motel room. And then lo and behold, a week later, somebody says, hey, somebody whispers in your ear, I got footage of you with some little young thing here in the, at this time. And I said, I need your help on this thing. And yeah, I think people are compromised. I think staff are compromised. I think, this is $1 billion situation. If whoever has this information and this technology is leading as my daddy used to say, is in the catbird seat.
What kind of feedback do you get from your constituents, your district voters on this issue? Do they tell you, we don't care about this, do something else, or is it positive?
Surprisingly, I have a lot of people that are very prominent. When I had lunch with a lady, one of the top PR people in the state, for instance, she's a big believer. I was on an airplane, I fly to DC every miserable week, and it's just, and you walk by it used to be pretty cool. I think I'd flown a half a dozen times before I got elected to Congress. I've been to Washington twice, and now I can do it blindfolded. But I'm getting on the airplane, and there's this well-kept dude sitting on the right side there in first class, and he's kind of kicked back, and he's wearing, looks to me like a several $100 suit, and the nice shoes, the deal. And he says, Congressman, about that UAP issue. And I thought, here it comes, he's going to hit me between the eyes, oh, little green man, hey man, don't get probed, some kind of smart aleck thing. He goes, I really appreciate you having the courage to take that on. And I go, and I was kind of taken aback, and I go, you had an experience? And he said, yeah, I saw something sometime. Maybe sometime I'll talk to you about it. And I said, hey, that'd be great. And, I gave him my card. And I mean, this has happened time, if I can call you George, if that's all right, time and time and time again. And it's, I've just, and it's people that I would not suspect. A friend I worked with in the legislature years ago had an incredible experience when he was in the Navy on a ship. And then when he got back to shore, the suits came aboard and told him it was a national security thing not to talk about it. And you know what? They didn't talk about it, but it happened in the 50s. I mean, you all have seen that time more so than I have, but here's my fear, guys, is that I'm getting some clown that's he's a plant that's going to give me a false flag. And then I'm going to come forward with it to embarrass the UFO community. And so I'm very leery about exposing any of this, and especially my friends, because they've confided in me, and I get it. And I'm catching hell too. I get the calls every day, and I totally expect to see this in whoever runs against me in the next year or so.
Sure.
And I it's going to come from high up, and I suspect they'll be well funded. But because I'm making a lot of people uncomfortable. Do you know what? That's when they fire at you, when you're over the target. And dadgummit, boys, we are over the target. And especially my friends, because they've confided in me, and I get it. And I'm catching hell too. I get the calls every day, and I totally expect to see this in whoever runs against me in the next year or so.
Sure.
And it's going to come from high up, and I suspect they'll be well funded. But because I'm making a lot of people uncomfortable. Do you know what? That's when they fire at you, when you're over the target. And dadgummit, boys, we are over the target.
Absolutely, we are. Of course, we had to have him on the show. We want to welcome in Congressman Tim Burchett to Morning in America. He's on the House Oversight Committee overseeing these UFO hearings. Congressman, thanks for being with us.
Thank you for having me, Marky.
My first question to you right off the top, how close are we to seeing visual evidence, photos, videos? You know, Americans have heard the claims, the whistleblowers' allegations of government UFO programs. We've heard from lawmakers like yourself, Senator Marco Rubio, but people are ready for visual proof. Where is it?
Yeah. Well, it's out there. If you'll go on YouTube and watch TikTak video, it's just Google it, TikTak video. They've had a special on 60 Minutes. It's been covered in some of the major news outlets, mainly the printed medium, not so much the visual medium like yourselves. And it basically shows a craft that they are chasing, that are Navy pilots. These are the best in the world, and it's audio and visual. In video, and you hear them saying, you know, these guys, they're just laughing because they can't keep up with them, and it looks like a little Tic Tac candy.
Okay, so it's Tic Tac, not TikTok. Just to confirm.
No, ma'am. Yeah,
okay.
Everybody always says, hey, yeah, these young people say, hey, boomer, it's not. And I said, no, it's Tic Tac, like the candy. So,
hey,
and my daughter has corrected me on that.
Yeah, hey, I'm not on TikTok, so I just wanted to make sure myself. Tell us more about your claims, sir, that the government has known about UFOs since the 1800s, that they can fly underwater. What are you basing those allegations off of?
Well, I'm basing them off of those pilots' videos that you've seen, and there's multiple occasions of that. And I've talked to multiple pilots, and these are the best pilots in the world. And you have to realize, well, even though they have so-called whistleblower protection from the military intelligence, and again, military intelligence is a whole lot like congressional ethics. It just doesn't exist. But if you talk to some of the best pilots in the world, and they tell you that they've seen these objects, and then when they do report it, they get interrogated for like up to 8 hours, and they get a blemish on their record. So I've talked to pilots who've literally said, we've destroyed any evidence of these videos because we don't want to have to go through all that. We've seen it. We all talk about it. It's pretty common knowledge among some of the pilots in certain areas. We've had actually 13 near-miss encounters. And to think that, you know, we've got a $50 million aircraft and some of the best pilots in the world who are risking their lives, why would they lie about it?
Right.
Honestly, all they're going to do is catch hell from their superiors, and this is ridiculous. And all I want is, I don't want to send the Pentagon another red cent, because that's what they're after. They see the public opinion, people like legitimate media like yourself are covering it. They're going to smell dollars. And, you know, and honestly, the Pentagon loses over $1 billion a year in their audits, and we don't have the guts to do anything about it. We don't need to study it anymore. Just release the files. Just release the unredacted files.
I think a lot of Americans would agree with you on that. Even the Americans who think that David Grush and, you know, the likes of him are credible, people are ready to see it. They want to see those files. Also, Congressman, Americans are already starting to question what the U.S. actually knows about alien life. And in a new poll from Redfield and Wilton Strategies, they found that 57% of respondents believe the government has more information than publicly shared. But is that necessarily a bad thing, given how sensitive and potentially dangerous this research seems to be?
Why is it dangerous, ma'am? They won't even release the Kennedy files on President Kennedy's assassination. And people have been, that's over 50 years. Anybody involved in that is dead. Ma'am, it is about power. It is about control. It is about the almighty dollar that they are trying to control. And that's all this is about. That's all this is about. Yep. Just release it. I'm not afraid of it. You go out at night and look at the stars, and the light from those stars literally left there before the time of Christ. That is the vastness of God's great universe, ma'am.
And
honestly, ma'am, go ahead. I'm sorry.
Congressman, one last question for you, just a few seconds left. Should Americans be worried or no?
No, they should not. If they have this kind of technology, they could have done us in a long time ago, ma'am.
All right. Congressman Tim Burchett, thank you for your time. We appreciate it. So, Joe, did these numbers surprise you?
Honestly, no, not surprising to me. And so we're learning a lot about how the American public feels as it relates to UAPs and whistleblowers. we're also going to be learning more about how Congress feels, because one of those, imagine 57% of Americans, is Congressman Tim Burchett, who spoke to News Nation earlier today. He has been on a crusade to try to get the Pentagon and the Department of Defense to release more of their files, to declassify reports about UAPs as it relates to whistleblower claims, and to release videos that they allegedly have showing some of these aircraft in the air. And one of the ways he's doing that is by planning a congressional hearing, which you heard about first here on News Nation. We broke this news. He and a couple of others are planning this sort of first of its kind hearing focusing on UAP whistleblowers. Sources confirmed to us even today that they are still now in the planning stages for this hearing. I should mention our sources emphasize that nothing is set in stone yet, but the plan and the hope from lawmakers pushing this is sometime by the end of this month or early next month. They wanted to have a field hearing. There was discussion around having it not here in the Capitol, but rather in Florida. Again, nothing confirmed at this point. But Burchett this morning says it's time that a lot of these military whistleblowers, especially those who are flying planes for the U.S. military, need to be heard. Now, I think it's worth reminding the public about the claims that David Grush has made, former Air Force intel officer, when he came forward on our network. His claim was that there is a program within the government that is designed to retrieve crashed UAPs, which, in his words, what he is hearing, don't appear to be made by human hands. Now, here's the new polling done by Newsweek that you referenced off the top here, showing, again, 57% of registered voters believe that the government knows more or has more about UAPs than they are letting on. So as the issue gets more coverage, clearly it's making an impact on people's opinions and people's views of this. Whether that moves the Pentagon and the DOD to declassify and release some of this information, Kelly, that remains to be seen right now.
What can you tell us about these hearings? Because we had initially heard that the hearing involving the whistleblower would happen later this month. Is that still planned? Is that going to be scheduled officially?
I'm not going to say who's going to be at the hearing. We're going to firm that up, and I'll let the committee announce that. But I will say that it'll happen before the end of this month.
Before the end of this month.
And you all have been great. You broke before the end of July. Yes, sir. That is our plan. And we're trying to nail down all the details. But, of course, we have the Pentagon pushing against us, calling some of our witnesses, telling them, don't go testify before this committee. If we have to, we'll use the power of subpoena. We'll bring them in there and make them tell the truth, because this thing has been covered up. It is ridiculous. The Pentagon needs to come forth with the truth finally, and let's move on to another issue. But until then, I think we need to find out what's going on. And the charcoal briquette comment, everybody always quotes me on that. And the reality is, these folks, if they are beings from light years away or wherever, the dark side of the moon, I don't know. Their technology is so incredible that they could have done us, if they can travel light years to visit our little measly planet. Then their technology is so superior to anything we've ever seen. And you can see that if you watch the videos.
Yeah, I know the TikTok video right there, or TikTak. I keep saying TikTok. TikTok video there is, it's hard to figure out what's going on there. But it's interesting. Some of the lawmakers will say, and we need to know, too, if it's possibly, craft developed by China or Russia or one of our adversaries. But if you watch some of these videos, if China or Russia have that kind of technology, that would be crazy. It seems unlikely, don't you think?
Yeah. Do you think that they would have walked over Ukraine in half the world by now? Russia would have, and China would own us. Putin's ego, he would have landed one of those UFOs on the White House lawn, got out bare-chested, wrestled the president, got back in his UFO and head back to Mother Russia. let's be honest, with that ego and they're so power hungry. And China's the same way. So you can't, and also our military, are all these pilots lying? Are they risking their lives, their careers, their retirement, everything they have, their reputations for something like this? No, I say no. They're not lying. They're telling the truth. Something is going on. Let's get to the bottom of it, and let's move on.
Do you have classified briefings? And I know you can't tell us what happens in those briefings, but is there just like a ton of information that we don't know? That you know?
There's quite a bit. I've been in meetings, and
and you know, I guess the CIA or whoever, the alphabet agencies in there, and they're getting nervous when the pilots start talking and telling us things, and you know, and they tried to sandbag us down in Florida on a meeting. They told us we were going to have a meeting. They gave us all this other top secret stuff, which is pretty incredible, but it had nothing to do with the UFOs. And then we had to call their bluff. We had to call back to Washington, and we had to get the higher ups to release the pilots to speak to us, which is why we flew to Florida in the first place. So there's, I guess there's pride in ownership, whatever. There's just an arrogance about this bunch that I don't trust. Washington is a trash can.